This puppy was found inside a soaked cardboard box, shivering from the cold, with eyes so swollen he could barely see. But what happened next will completely change the way you see unconditional love. Stay until the end, because his transformation is impossible to believe. Hello, family. If you're here, it's because you believe every living being deserves a second chance. Before we start this emotional journey, hit that like button so more people can discover stories that change lives. And if you're not yet subscribed, click subscribe and turn on the notification bell, because every week we share real stories that will deeply touch your heart. Today, I'm going to tell you a story that mixes pain, abandonment, hope, and a love so powerful it literally saved a life. Grab some tissues, because this story will touch every fiber of your heart. The abandonment. When everything seemed lost. The first problem, the shocking discovery. It was a cold winter morning when Maria, a 42-year-old teacher who always hurried down that same street on her way to work, heard a faint sound, almost imperceptible, a muffled cry coming from behind a trash bin. She could have ignored it. She was late, she had papers to grade, but something inside her wouldn't let her just walk away. And when she got closer, what she saw shattered her heart into 1,000 pieces. Inside a completely soaked cardboard box, drenched by the previous night's rain, was a puppy that looked more like a wet rag than a living creature. His tiny eyes were so swollen from infection that he could barely open them. His little body trembled violently, not only from the cold, but also from hunger and pain. But here's the detail that will leave you speechless. Next to the box, there was a hastily written note that said, "I can't take care of him. I'm sorry." Someone had consciously abandoned that helpless being, knowing he might not survive. The decision that changes everything. The first solution. The power of a choice. Maria didn't think twice. She picked up the box with the trembling puppy, placed it on the back seat of her car, and immediately called the nearest vet. At that moment, she didn't know it yet, but saving that little life would also end up saving her own. The vet, Dr. Paulo, examined the puppy and delivered a devastating diagnosis. Severe malnutrition, pneumonia, serious eye infection, parasites and hypothermia. The chances of survival, less than 30%. "If you had found him just 1 hour later," said the vet, his voice trembling, "there's probably nothing we could have done." Maria looked at that tiny being fighting for every breath and made the most important decision of her life. "I'll take care of him, do everything necessary." And here's something few people realize. When we choose to help someone in their most vulnerable moment, we're also healing parts of ourselves we didn't even know were broken. The fight for survival. The second problem, the hardest days. The first few days were a constant battle between life and death. Maria named the puppy Miracle because she needed a name that represented hope. She slept on the floor beside his improvised little bed, woke up every hour to give him medicine, and cleaned his wounds with the gentle care of a mother tending to her newborn. Her friends said she was becoming obsessed. Even her brother commented, "It's just a stray dog, Maria. You need to get back to your normal life." But Miracle wasn't just a dog. He represented everything Maria had lost over the years. The ability to care deeply, to fight for something, to feel that her life had meaning again. You see, Maria had lost her husband 3 years earlier in a car accident. Since then, she had merely existed, not truly lived. Work, home, sleep, repeat. Her life was a mechanical cycle. Emotionless, colorless, and purposeless. But then something happened that no one expected, something that would completely change this story. Keep watching, because what happens next will make you rethink the meaning of gratitude. The turning point. When love wins, on the 10th night, when Maria was about to give up. When the vet bills had already exceeded her entire month's salary. When her eyes burned from crying so much, watching Miracle suffer. It happened. Miracle opened his eyes for the first time since being rescued. Not the swollen, sick eyes from before, but eyes that were finally beginning to heal. And when he saw Maria leaning over him, tears streaming down her face, he did something extraordinary. He lifted his trembling paw and gently touched her cheek. Maria says that in that moment, she felt something she hadn't felt in years, a reason to wake up the next day. It was no longer just about saving Miracle. It was about saving herself. And here's a truth few people understand. When we rescue an abandoned animal, we're actually rescuing the abandoned parts of ourselves along the way. The impossible transformation, learning to trust again as the weeks passed. Miracle grew physically stronger, but something deeply worried Maria. He was afraid of everything. Afraid of noises, afraid of people, afraid even to leave her little house. The trauma of abandonment had left invisible but profound scars. Any sudden movement made Miracle cower. Any loud voice made him tremble. He had learned, in the cruelest way possible, that the world was a dangerous place where you could be thrown away like trash at any moment. Maria realized that physical healing was just the beginning. Emotional healing would take much more time, much more patience, much more love. She spent months sitting beside him, doing nothing but being present. She spoke softly about her day, her fears, her own healing process. And slowly, day by day, Miracle began to understand something revolutionary. Not all humans abandon. Some stay. Some fight for you. Some love you unconditionally. The miracle within the miracle. Transformative gratitude. 6 months after the rescue, something magical began to happen. Miracle had not only fully recovered, but was transforming Maria's life in unimaginable ways. She started going out more because Miracle needed walks. She began to smile again because Miracle did funny tricks. She started talking to neighbors who stopped to pet Miracle. She began to feel that her house was a home again, not just a place where she slept. But the greatest transformation happened in her heart. Maria realized she had spent 3 years blaming life, blaming fate, blaming God for the loss of her husband. But Miracle taught her something profound about gratitude. No matter how dark the night, a new morning is always coming. She started a gratitude journal, writing down 3 things she was grateful for every night. At first, it was hard to find 3 things, but over time, she realized there were hundreds of small miracles every day that she simply hadn't been seeing. But wait, because this story is about to get even more incredible. What Miracle did a year later will prove that animals feel and understand far more than we imagine. The day that changed everything, when life tests again. 1 year and 2 months after the rescue, Maria had one of the worst days of her life. At the school where she worked, she was told she would be laid off due to budget cuts. It was December 20th, almost Christmas, and she was about to lose her income. She came home devastated, walked through the door and collapsed on the couch, crying uncontrollably. All the old fears came back. How will I pay the bills? How will I take care of myself? How will I take care of Miracle? Maybe I should have left him on the street. I wouldn't have this responsibility now. And it was at that moment that Miracle did something Maria would never forget. He didn't just climb onto the couch and lie beside her. He placed his head in her lap and began to lick her tears, one by one, with a gentleness and presence that said more than 1,000 words could. It was as if he was saying, "You stayed with me when I was broken. Now it's my turn to stay with you." And when everything makes sense, in that moment, crying on the couch with Miracle in her arms, Maria understood the most important lesson of her life. Gratitude isn't about having a perfect life. Gratitude is about recognizing love even in the midst of chaos. She looked at Miracle and realized this little dog, once thrown away to die in a cardboard box, had become her reason to keep going. He didn't judge her. He didn't care whether she had a job or not. He didn't care if she had money or not. He just loved her. Unconditionally, completely, perfectly. Maria wiped away her tears and made a decision. She wasn't going to let herself sink again. She had Miracle, she had her health, she had friends, she had a roof over her head, and most importantly, she had learned to be grateful even when life was hard. In the months that followed, she started giving private lessons. She opened a small educational consulting business, and to her surprise, 3 months later, she was earning more money than she ever did at school. She realized that losing her job wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something better, the lasting impact. Today, 3 years after rescuing Miracle, Maria's life looks completely different. She started a volunteer project in her neighborhood called Second Chance, where she helps rescue, treat, and find homes for abandoned animals. Over 200 animals have been saved so far, each with their own story, each one breaking hearts and then mending them in unexpected ways. Maria always tells new volunteers the same thing. I didn't save Miracle. Miracle saved me. He taught me that life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. It is about learning to dance in the rain. And here's the secret that transforms lives. When you choose gratitude, even in the hardest moments, you stop being a victim and become the author of your own story. Miracle is now a happy, healthy dog who loves playing with children, no longer fears loud noises and trusts again. But most importantly, he is living proof that love has the power to heal any wound, no matter how deep. And now comes the most moving part of this whole story, something that will make you believe in signs from the universe. The ending no one expected. Remember the note found in the box that said, "I can't take care of him. Forgive me." 2 years after the rescue, Maria was at a pet adoption event when a young woman, visibly emotional, approached her. "Is this Miracle?" the woman asked, tears in her eyes. Maria was confused. How did this stranger know her dog's name? The young woman then told her story. She was a 19-year-old single mother going through an incredibly difficult time. With no money, no family support, a baby in her arms, and a sick puppy she couldn't afford to care for, she made the hardest decision of her life. She left the puppy, hoping someone would find him and give him a better chance than she could at that moment. "I never forgave myself for that," she said, crying. "But when I saw his picture on your project's poster, I knew it was him. I had to know if he was okay." Maria held the young woman's hands and said, "He's more than okay. He saved my life. And your act of leaving him where someone could find him, even though it broke your heart, allowed both of us to heal." That is the power of perspective. What seems like a tragic ending can actually be the beginning of something miraculous. Your turn to reflect, you who love pets. This story teaches us deep lessons about abandonment, resilience, unconditional love, and the transformative power of gratitude. Miracle was abandoned, but he was found. He was broken, but he was healed. He was rejected, but he was loved. And in the process of being saved, he became the one who saved. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever lived through a moment that felt like the end, but turned out to be a new beginning? Have you ever had a pet that changed your life? Or do you know someone who has? Leave it in the comments. I read them all and will reply to as many as I can. And if this story touched your heart, share this video with someone who needs to believe in second chances today. If you're not subscribed to the channel yet, hit that button now and turn on the notification bell, because every week we bring real stories to inspire you to see life through new eyes. And don't forget to leave a like, so YouTube can show this video to more people who need this message. Always remember, no matter how lost you feel today, no matter how abandoned you think you are, there is always someone or something waiting to show you that you matter, that you are loved, that you have a purpose. Sometimes that someone has 4 paws and a heart bigger than any human could ever have. Gratitude isn't an emotion, it's a decision. And that decision changes everything. See you in the next video. Until then, practice gratitude every day. Your life will never be the same. A hug full of light and love.